This video will provide an overview of the funding available through the Predator-Resistant Fence Construction Program recently announced through the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership. The Livestock Predation Prevention Program provides support to help producers reduce the risk of livestock predation through two different funding streams. The one stream provides a rebate for pre-approved livestock predation equipment and livestock guardian dogs. The other stream is for the construction of predator-resistant fencing around calving and lambing areas, pastures, extended grazing fields, and dead stock composting sites. Constructing predator-resistant fencing is different from normal livestock fencing, where you're typically fencing to keep your animals in, like a pasture, for example. Predator-resistant fences are built and designed to deter wild predators from climbing over, passing through, or burrowing under. In the program guide, you will see further details of eligible fence types, including the wire net fence, as well as an electrified high tensile fence option. Different types of wire net fence are eligible for the program, such as page wire, welded or fixed knot, or hinge joint fencing. The photos here show a predator-resistant fence constructed with fixed knot fencing that is 71 inches in height. This particular one has an apron on it, which extends out from the bottom of the fence along the ground. Using an apron in your construction is highly recommended to prevent predators from digging under the fence. This is a dead stock compost pen constructed with the same type of fencing material. Here's an example of an electrified high tensile fence. Under this program, 7, 9, and 11 wire electrified fences are eligible, with the 9 and the 11 wire ones recommended in areas where predator activity or risk is high. The photo on the right shows one way of deterring predators from burrowing under the gate by using a barrier such as concrete threshold. When you submit your application, it will be assessed to determine whether your project will be approved. Applicant eligibility and completeness of the form will be taken into consideration. If funding is limited, priority will be given to those with higher predation risk and to those constructing fence types such as the net wire fence 71 inches high with an apron, or the 9 and 11 wire electrified high tensile fence, as these fence types are known to resist predators more. Upon review of your application, you will receive a letter if your project has been approved and the amount of maximum funding available. To be eligible, you must have a paid livestock predation claim under the Manitoba Wildlife Damage Compensation Program in 2021 or later. You also require a Manitoba Premises Identification Number. In addition, the project must take place on agricultural land in Manitoba, and you must manage it in order to deter livestock predation. Regarding the program payments, you will be reimbursed for up to 75% of the total approved eligible expenses up to the maximum of $10,000 for the fence construction projects. In order to reach this $10,000 total funding cap, you will need to submit eligible expenses and receipts of $13,333 or more. Also, depending on the fence size and type, approved funding may be less than the $10,000 cap. We will further discuss how the payments work in the next few minutes. Besides the fencing materials and supplies, there are other eligible expenses for the program. Incremental personal labor and personal equipment use is an eligible expense based at $30 per hour for the labor, as well as fixed program rates for different types of equipment, which can be found in our program guide. That being said, there is a total cap for the personal labor and equipment component of your project, that being $3 per linear foot for the dead stock compost areas, $1 per linear foot for the predator-resistant fences, or $1.50 per linear foot if the fence has an apron.
Other eligible expenses include subcontracted services, equipment rental, as well as PST. Please remember that the invoice must be dated April 1st, 2024 or later, and proof of payment is required. Here is a list of specific ineligible items for this program. I encourage you to refer to the program guide for further details and a more complete list. Some of the specific ineligible items would be barbed wire fences, power sources, temporary fence panels, waters or feeders, say to be used for housing or carrying the livestock, land preparation, fencing around feed storage areas, as well as composting equipment.
Funding is determined by receipts submitted for eligible expenses up to the program maximum of $10,000 in funding. Additionally, caps are applied based on the length, the type of fence, and its purpose. Let's examine that a little closer to get a better understanding of how these project caps work. For example, if you chose to construct a wire net fence 70 inches in height, your project would be capped at a base of $1,000 plus the $7 per linear foot. If you chose to go with a 9-wire electrified high tensile fence, your project cap would include $1,000 for the base funding plus $4 per linear foot. If you chose to construct a predator-resistant fence around your deadstock compost pen, the change would be the base funding is $2,000 plus your linear rate depending on the type of fence you went with. As previously mentioned, using an apron on your fence is highly recommended. Doing so could increase your maximum payment by $1 per linear foot. Retrofitting an existing fence mostly would apply to sheep producers to further enhance the predator resistance of their current fence by adding a top wire to meet the minimum height or by including an apron to deter burrowing.
Here's an example of how the payment would be calculated. The project that we will look at is a 9-wire electrified fence with an apron of a linear length of 1,875 feet. Here are the rates for this type of fence: $1,000 for the base funding, plus $4 per foot, plus $1 per foot for the apron. Keep in mind, the personal labor and equipment caps off at $1.50 per foot. So our base funding, once again, is $1,000 plus the additional cost per linear foot. That's our $4 times 1,875 feet, gives us an additional $7,500 plus the extra cost for including an apron in our project. $1 times 1,875 feet gives us an additional $1,875. Therefore, we add all those numbers up and we could be eligible for $10,375 worth of funding based on this calculation. However, we have a program cap of $10,000. Now, as our funding is at 75% government and 25% producer, in order to reach your $10,000 cap, you must submit receipts for total eligible expenses of $13,333. Like I said, that would be your maximum payment of $10,000 based on 75% government funding. Using our personal labor and equipment cap of up to $1.50 per foot, the most you could submit for those expenses would be $2,810.
Upon construction of your fence and completing the inspection, you are now ready to submit your claim with paid invoices and their proof of payment. To review, this project is for constructing a 9-wire electrified fence with an apron 1,875 feet in length. You have been approved for funding up to the maximum of $10,000 based on this type of fence. Your incremental labor and equipment is also capped at $2,810. Here is a list of eligible expenses you might submit for this example that totals $12,375. Keeping in mind the program cost shares 75% of total eligible expenses, your payment would then be $9,281, which fits within our maximum funding approved of $10,000. Let's look at another payment example. In this project, we are constructing a wire net fence 256 feet in length, 70 inches high, around a dead stock compost pen. Based on this type of fence, the project would be capped at $2,000 for base funding plus $7 per linear foot. Keep in mind our incremental labor and equipment cap of $3 per linear foot. Let's do the calculations. Our base funding of $2,000 plus the $7 per linear foot times 256 feet gives us $1,792. We add those two numbers together, and based on this type of project, our maximum grant would be $3,792. That is well below our $10,000 program cap. As mentioned, the program cost shares at 75%, so in order to receive the maximum grant of $3,792, you would have to submit $5,056 in total eligible expenses. Part of those expenses would be the cap on personal labor and equipment up to $768. Here is how the claim submission may look for this second example. Remember, we are building a wire net fence 256 feet in length, 70 inches high around a dead stock compost pen. We have been approved for funding up to the maximum of $3,792 based on this type of fence. Our incremental labor and equipment is also capped at $768. This is the list of eligible expenses you might submit for this example. Note they are totaling $5,240. However, when we look at our personal labor and equipment cap of $768, you can see that we have exceeded that cap with our $840 of eligible expenses. Therefore, an adjustment will be made to our total eligible expenses from $5,240 to $5,168. The project is cost shared at 75%. So when we look at 75% of $5,168, we have a calculation that gives us $3,876. However, based on the type of fence, we note that our project has been capped at $3,792. Therefore, we will receive only the $3,792 worth of funding that we were approved for. Please refer to our program guide found on the website for fence standards as well as guidelines and examples of fence construction. Upon the completion of the fence construction, an inspection is needed to verify not only that the work has been completed, that the fence will deter predators from climbing over, passing through, or burrowing under the fence. These inspections can be arranged by calling 1-800-811-4411 or by emailing agriculture@gov.mb.ca. Please see the program guide, which can be found on the program website,
to learn more about the fence standards as well as guidelines and examples for constructing these predator-resistant fences. Here are some important dates associated with the program. June 14th is the deadline for applications. Upon notification that your project has been approved, you will then have until October 31st to complete the fence construction. November 29th is the deadline for completing your fence inspection, and you must submit your claim for payment as well as the proof of payment with all your invoices used in the construction of your fence by December 20th.
To apply to the program, you must submit the applicant information form and the application worksheet, which can be found on the program website. Please visit www.manitoba.ca/SCAP. Once there, click on the Resiliency and Public Trust option, which will then take you to the Livestock Predation Prevention Program webpage. Navigate your way to find the funding stream Predator-Resistant Fence Construction. Here's where you will also find the program guide. Keep in mind, no quotes are necessary when submitting your application. When submitting your claim upon completion of your fence, after the inspection has been done as well, invoices and proof of payment will be required. You can only submit one fence claim worksheet over the life of the program. Further program information can be obtained on the program website. You may also reach out to our staff by emailing agriculture@gov.mb.ca or by calling 1-800-811-4411. Also refer to the program guide to get a better idea of the fence standards and construction guidelines required for the program. In addition, keep your eyes open for the program fact sheet, which summarizes the details provided in this video.